What's up, people? This is DJ.
Hey, mi gente, this is Ish.
And this is season 2 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Salsa, mi salsa es caliente, la miel de mi fuente goza y baila mi
gente. Ring dinger? That's exactly how we're starting this episode.
Oh my god, please don't tell me you're going to keep that on. That's like really messed up.
We're totally starting with the ring dinger. The ring dinger.
Okay, I'm serious. Watching chiropractic adjustment on YouTube is so soothing.
I'll take your word for it.
You need to watch one.
I just don't have a chiropractic thing.
Well, on that note, everybody, welcome to
episode 78. 78.
So episode 78, here we are.
Yes. 78.
Se fue agosto.
Well, yeah, se lo está llevando un viento
I
as
know.
we're recording right now.
I know. Well, before we get into that, hello everyone. Episode 78. Happy Friday, Pero Friday.
Buenos días, buenas tardes.
How's everybody doing?
Hope everybody's good.
Everybody's gone back to school at this point.
That's true. No, you know what? There's still some places. I think New York starts next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Well, New York then is starting when we used to start, which was like
September?
September, right? This whole thing of like mid-June, mid-August. I mean, like what the heck is that?
No, and in Georgia, they started in July.
They did?
Yeah. Melissa's Girls started like...
What the hell is that? Do they end in April?
They do. They end like in May.
Oh, I kind of said that for shits and giggles.
Yeah, they do though. They end in May.
So, bueno, here we are recording on Fake Friday. And
it's a wet Fake Friday.
It's a wet Fake Friday. And hurricane or tropical storm Dorian.
I keep wanting to call it Dairon.
Está acabando en Puerto Rico.
Los pobres. They cannot get a break.
Bueno, but apparently it's not as bad as, thankfully it's not as bad as Maria because Maria was the worst of the worst.
Right.
But, it seems to be just like a tropical storm, or a Category 1 even.
It's a Cat 1.
It's a Category 1?
I mean, as of right now, it's a Cat 1.
But I feel like Category 1s are good because it's enough of a hurricane that you don't go to work.
But
it's like hurricane.
But you don't really lose power.
You don't
have to go and stand in line for water.
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
If stuff closes maybe one day, if at most.
You get like a snow day.
It's like a snow day. It's like, we don't get snow days, so damn it, we should get hurricane days. And we do.
We do. It's the one thing we get.
We do. Mira que casualidad. This week was the 27th anniversary of Andrew.
Oh, Andrew, that's right. It was on 24th, right?
Yeah. August 24th, 1992. And it's so funny because... It's so funny because, I remember Andrew so vividly. I mean, well, whatever. I mean, we were teenagers. We were old enough. But I remember it so vividly. I can't believe it's been that long already.
I can. We are 40.
Anyway.
Put it into perspective.
Did you have to bring up the age?
Well, you seemed like you needed it.
No, but it's like that was such a catastrophic storm, and it's been so long. I remember, I'm sure everybody that lived through it has its memories when the wind gusts would hit my parents' house, that it felt like a train coming at us, hitting the house.
I wouldn't know.
Oh, that's right. You didn't live through Hurricane Andrew because you were in Costa Rica or some shit. What the hell were you doing in Costa Rica?
We had a vacation. I was in Costa Rica. Literally, the day that we were going to come back was the day of Hurricane Andrew. And they were like, there's a hurricane about to hit, and you're not flying into the city. So, yeah, I was not here for Hurricane Andrew. And I wasn't even here for the aftermath because really, by the time that they let flights start coming in, it was 2-3 days later.
What type of a Miamian are you? You didn't go through one of the most iconic Miamian moments, which was Hurricane Andrew.
I know. It's so bizarre to me to
oh my God, you must have lost so many fruit trees at your parents' house.
We did.
La mata de limón, la mata de naranja agria.
We did. And it's maybe because my uncle was the one who stayed there because my grandparents' house, at the time he was living with my grandparents, they had gotten evacuated because they lived near the river. Mm-hmm. So he was staying at our house. And actually, it's good because in our house, La electricidad, I think, was underground. The cables were underground.
Yes.
So we didn't really lose power there. We were good.
At your parents' house?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you not lose power at your parents' house? Here. And I lost power 27 days at my parents' house.
I don't know.
You know, our parents' house were only like
They're like
2 or 3 miles away.
Not even, if that.
Anyway, so listeners,
Hey, Transformer.
listeners, what are your Hurricane Andrew memories?
It's funny because whenever I hear people talk about Hurricane Andrew, I'm always like, I can't join the conversation.
I know, right? No, because it's such a if you lived
It's so defining.
If you lived through Hurricane Andrew, it's so defining in your Miami experience, right? It makes you it's such a big part of who you are and what you lived through. I mean, that was the biggest natural disaster in American history up to that point.
Was it really?
It was, and it was the most costly too.
Oh, I didn't
up
know
to that point. And it was a Category 5, and till this day they believe it still had.
Was it a Category 5?
It was a Category 5. The problem why it was categorized a Category 5 officially after the storm, because the problem is that during the storm, the Hurricane Center,
The Doppler, like...
it blew out.
Yeah.
So the Hurricane Center is not the one that is now at FIU. That's like a bunker.
Right.
It was someplace else. I think it was, I don't know where it was, but the Hurricane Center's, metrics, I guess, blew out in the storm. So they weren't able to officially at the moment
Say what a touchdown
say that
is.
it was a Category 5. But then after, they gauged the damage, they knew that it had to be a Category
Minimum
5 because things that were damaged could only do so if
Certain
it
wind.
was a certain speed, the wind.
Right.
So, but yeah, that was like a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember that we had a relative that she completely lost. She lived in Homestead. She completely lost her house. When I mean completely, I mean that when we went like a month later, the only thing left was a foundation and her tiles.
Wow. Those are good tiles.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's why hurricanes kind of freak me out a little bit, because since I wasn't here for Andrew, I don't know what it's like to go through something like that. So I think, even though it probably terrifies some people who went through it, because it's like, shit, to go through that again. But I think that once you've gone through it, you know what to expect.
Yeah, you know what to expect. So that's why when when it's a Category 3, I'm like,
Total,
it's gonna knock down a tree.
we won't have electricity for like a week.
Yeah,
whatever,
but as long as it doesn't cause structural damage, we're okay.
fine. Well, actually, I mean, there was also huge adjustments made to building codes after that. Too.
Yeah,
So,
the funniest thing, I love this story. So we, like many people during Hurricane Andrew, we did not take it seriously until the
because
very end.
nobody ever did.
Nobody ever
Siempre
did.
venía, y después no venía nada.
Yeah, and we, like, up to that point, the most that we would do is what everybody does. That would put tape on their windows,
Which doesn't do shit, by the way, guys.
which doesn't do shit.
Just putting that out there.
But it
listeners.
gave you the satisfaction that you did something.
Right, like you get to pat yourself on the back and have a beer.
I prepared. I bought a
Right.
gallon of water and I put tape
I
on
put
my
tape
windows.
on.
I'm prepared.
What more do you want?
What more do you want? Yeah. So the day before, so this would have been the 23rd. Right. Yeah, that's when shit got serious. Like when shit got real. That people were like, "Oh my god, this hurricane is coming." It was like it came because if you look at the trajectory of Hurricane Andrew, Hurricane Andrew was not one of these hurricanes that danced that went up and down
No.
and then did a twist at the end.
It was on a warpath.
It was like straight to Miami. Like it crossed the Atlantic out of Africa. It crossed the Atlantic like a bullseye to Miami. It was meant for us. Right. And the day before,
the rains of Africa.
which was a Sunday, shit got real.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's when my parents and my uncle, we were like,
they gotta do more.
What are we gonna do to cover the windows? We didn't have shutters.
No, in that moment.
And
plywood is gone.
My uncle found someone who
typical Miami
was in a construction site and had like used plywood. Y para allá
Qué
fuimos.
casualidad.
And that's where we went to. And I remember my mom went through. And this was like in the Devonair area, West Kendall.
Yeah.
Like in the Devonair area, getting to like south. And we go through Country Walk, and my mom's like, "Qué linda esta casa. Me encanta Country Walk."
Tu mamá saló a Country Walk.
We've ever been to Country
And the
Walk.
last.
My mom was like, "Ay, qué linda esta casa. Me encantan las casas que lucen americanas." And we got the plywood. And then 2 days later, Country Walk was gone.
Forget Hurricane Andrew. That was Neri who damned Country Walk.
Yep. But I'll never forget. She's like, "Ay, qué linda esta casa. A mí me encantan las casas con los portales bien grandes."
Así estilo antebellum.
Yes, me encantan estas casas. Qué linda. No, like, yeah. Esas casas volaron como Matías Pérez. Put that in the ping pong boom book. Anyway, speaking of So that's a good way of starting your drive. Nothing like starting your drive on Friday than talking about Hurricane Andrew.
And again, it may be raining as you're listening to this because the weather's not. If you're in Miami, if you're South Florida, the weather's not going to get better.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get something. So drive
Although
safe.
if there's a hurricane that comes this weekend, we might lose listeners because they're going to have something else to do.
But we can accompany you while you're putting up. What better way to put up your plywood and go to Walmart and stand in a line waiting for water than us?
Or if the electricity is shot, you could always like put your iPod or whatever phone
in your car,
in your docking station. Have the whole family listen to us.
We are somewhat a family podcast.
Anyway, so there's something I really wanted to bring up because this is like my Hispanic little nugget of joy. I try to in every episode, especially recently, have little like Hispanic nugget of joys, that, makes us who we are. So did you hear about the one of the executives of Lowe's Hardware, La Pata que metió?
No, ¿qué pasó?
Okay. So
I'm not really up on my hardware company.
Listen up. So this past week, the chief executive vice president of Lowe's Hardware, Joe McFarlane, was at I don't know if it was like a stock, like an investor, one of these investor, like shareholder,
like
quarterly meetings that they have that are like conventions.
Yeah.
Or if it was like a product presentation, but it was an event. It was certainly an event. So he was talking about like a new line of hand drills that Lowe's had. And he said, and I'm going to quote. Oh, God. This is a quote.
I'm bracing.
The new drills, these compact power drills were perfect for Hispanic customers since they have small hands.
He said this?
Yes.
All right.
So, obviously, wait. The storm that came after.
No.
So then he later apologized and said it was careless and ignorant. And my favorite, he said this is a moment of key reflection.
I'm so over reflections. These people reflect more than Mulan.
So in other words, Joe McFarlane, CEO of Lowe's, chief executive vice president of Lowe's, think that we're all like, 4'1" and have little hands. I mean, what the hell is that?
It's funny because I'm
6'1".
Here's my. Oh my God, you would look horrible with tiny hands. You would look like some type of like Kristen Wiig in that SNL.
I look like a T-Rex
in the SNL skit. But see, it's funny because my first thought was and I'm not trying to give the guy credit. I'm not trying to defend anybody, but I do feel that when sometimes things like that are presented and then they're said horribly wrong, it's because there has been some type of consumer focus groups. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there have been times where, like, they'll adjust a product. This is a horrible example, but, like, if they're trying to appeal more to, like, women, traditionally, let's stay with the hands. Traditionally, women do have smaller hands than men. I mean, just by virtue of, women's average height and everything. So sometimes you'll see, like, women didn't like using product X because they felt they couldn't get a good grip on it. So we've made it more slender, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just wondering if this is a case of that's what the marketing department told him, the very PC, we conducted research, blah, 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 and this is what it found. And the way that he said it was...
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I understand what you're trying to say.
I'm not.
That's
I'm
like Bic razors for women to shave their legs are pink, right? Because it appeals more to women.
Right.
I get all that from a consumer standpoint,
a marketing
and from a branding standpoint,
right.
But whether he said that because it's what he believes, or that's what was sold to him from his marketing or research department. Right. It goes with a stereotype that is not true, and it is a stereotype, and it's like one of these, like, again, tropes that we talk about all the time, because if you know anything about Latins, you know that we come in all shapes and sizes and colors and shades and countries. And now, right? So by saying that, he's reinforcing what, we've talked about a million times, the image, the one-dimensional image of Latino. Right?
Well, and the worst part about all of this, quite frankly, is that now, since it's smaller for our small hands and we can use it, that's just one more thing that now those other races from last week can't tell us apart from Hispanics.
Yep.
Because now we're able to use drills like regular folk.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
will this integration never stop?
Yep.
God damn it. I tell you.
I got really upset at that. Because I felt that by him saying that,
I'm just curious where that came from. If it was off the cuff or
he
if it
said
was
something that
if it was a script.
he said something that I feel that he probably really did believe. He really did believe that.
But it's the thing is that those. I mean, I've been to conferences, not necessarily that one or whatever, but there's always a teleprompter. There's always, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but they always go off the teleprompter.
yeah, but
too.
I mean, like that, you're gonna go. That's what you're gonna. That's,
Well,
that's the hill you're gonna choose
I
to die
actually
on?
saw the video, and it was very conversational. I think he was like in a sofa, like in a chair, and there was like a sofa,
like very Graham Norton.
It was very conversational.
Okay.
And then that's when he said the compact power drill is perfect, for our Hispanic customers with have small hands, and it's like
What's the Spanish word for drill?
taladro.
Taladro. I'm like, I know there's a la in there, and I couldn't figure it out.
And it's just terrible. Like, terrible. I got so upset at that. Because it's like, somebody who would say that is not only reinforcing a negative and incorrect stereotype, but again, it's what we say almost in every episode, I feel. You have to know what you're talking about. And
Right.
you have to know whether you have to know history or you have to know, what it is that you are putting out there. Because, I mean, has this man ever met an Argentinian? Has this man ever met a Brazilian?
I'm surprised this wasn't scripted to within an inch of its life.
But even if it's scripted, it's wrong. Somebody wrote it.
Right, but más razón todavía.
Right? And it's like, oh my God. Like, it's like, okay, wait. Have you been to Mexico? Because I'm sure that if you go to Mexico City, you're going to see Mexican, because
there's tall Mexicans.
All white people think that we're all Mexican. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's keep it with
Let's stick to one country.
The Mexican context.
Right.
Have you been to Mexico? Because I'm sure that if you go to Mexico City, you have Mexicans of all shapes and sizes and colors and shades and and weights and
walks of life.
Yes. So it's like, okay, have you even looked when you've gone to Mexico? Like,
It's cute. You think they look on a map. That's like yesterday, like the last week when you were like, oh, when you go to Spain, it's like, ay, qué lindo, you think they travel.
it really bothers me. Like, it really, really bothers me. And then, the key of reflection. Like, what are you reflecting on?
But that's such a bullshit thing that everybody says now whenever they...
The fact that you're ignorant? Because that's ignorance.
That, I would respect him more if he was just like, you know what, metí la pata. Metí la pata, I'm sorry, move on. But don't try to make it this whole and this is a moment for us to be able to learn and grow and reflect and blah, blah. I'm like, that whole part of, and I'm not just talking about him, I'm talking in general. Every time one of these, because we're offended by everything now in general, but anytime one of these things happens, like that they come out and it's like, I'm reflecting and I'm understand. I'm like, look, just be like, you know what? I'm sorry, it sucks. I'll do better next time. Done. Move on. That, because it sounds so insincere.
But what I think is crap is that, for example, and I've said this before on the podcast, let's talk about like Asian culture.
Okay.
Right? Asian culture is a culture that we are not as familiar with, right? Not only because of the distance geographically, but it's a culture that's very different than ours.
Right.
That's like if we were to assume. That's like if we were to assume that everybody who looks Asian is from China. It's like, who does that? But
Darian, they do.
But what I'm saying is,
I'm saying is
that okay, but like how a lot of white people think that we're all the same,
right?
Okay, right? And again, you're talking about Latins, which are the neighboring continent under the United States,
again, means
right?
nothing to
Which
them,
has an enormous population in the United States, right? And I think about, okay, that's why I give the Asian example.
Because that's so far away.
Asia is so far away. You're talking about a culture that's very different because Latin culture and Anglo culture is more similar to each other than Asian culture and Western culture, right?
Okay, theoretically.
Right? No, it is.
Oh, on the average.
Asian culture is very different than Western culture. And when I mean Western culture, I'm including Europe. It's very different.
Okay,
right?
Okay.
So you're talking about a culture that's very different. You're talking about a people that are very geographically far away. Right. And you're talking about, Asians. There are a lot of Asians in the U.S., but it's not like Hispanics.
It's different
in terms of the population. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not ignorant, and I'm not ignorant insofar that to think that everybody who's Asian is from China and is all the same. There's a million type of Asians from a bunch of different countries within those countries, they have different cultures and different customs. They speak different languages.
But you just said something in there. It's like, you are not ignorant. And therein, that's the hypothesis. That is the thesis statement. That is everything.
So it's like how again, living in the U.S. where the neighboring countries, and continent is Latin. There's a huge Latin population in the country that now, we are really out there and outspoken.
We're the majority minority.
How can you say something so stupid? Like
by opening your mouth.
I no entiendo.
It's okay. You don't have to intend it. We just have to make sure that we point it out.
On the meanwhile, this helps me because I have really big hands. So these small drills are not going to help me. I have listen, Joe McFarland.
Yes.
I am Hispanic or
He's a
Latino
Hispanic
or
who
whatever.
needs the bigger drill.
Okay, and I'm 6'1" and I'm a big guy and I have really big hands.
Hey,
so you know
true.
what?
Your hands look like paws.
So you know what? I don't need a small drill. That's why I'm going to Home Depot.
Yeah, your hands are so paw-like that, Lady Gaga fans are jealous.
Yeah. Oh, I ate Everglades lumber.
Oh,
That doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Hashtag Miami nostalgia.
That's a Wendy's now.
It is. And a CVS.
And a CVS
but
boss.
everything's a CVS now.
Everything's a CVS. I think they're putting one in my kitchen later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Totally off topic. But we're okay. So here in Miami, to our listeners that are not in Miami, here in Miami, it seems that in every corner there's a CVS and a Walgreens, and I feel that Walgreens gets there first.
New York también.
In New York, you also have Dwayne Reed.
Dwayne Reed, which is owned by Walgreens owns, or they own Walgreens.
And you have Rite Aid.
Sí, pero it's usually CVS or Walgreens or Dwayne Reed, some combination thereof, or a
Dwayne-
Chase Bank.
Dwayne Reed is owned by Walgreens, you said?
I don't remember if it's that Dwayne Reed is owned by Walgreens or Walgreens owns Dwayne Reed.
Okay. But here it's like, you see the Walgreens, it's like, okay, all CVS is coming up. See, recently on here in Miami, on Kendall and 137th,
okay,
there was this office building there, an entire office building complex that had a tower, had a clock tower and everything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That had a clock tower.
Yeah,
it was like
that's not there anymore.
They knocked it down to build a CVS.
But how big of a CVS is there?
It's the normal CVS, but remember, CVS needs a lot of parking.
Oh, that's true.
You know what? I have to be honest. I like Walgreens more because you know how nostalgic I am, and Walgreens has like a very important and big history. It's been around for over 100 years. They were one of the original
It's from Chicago, right?
Soda fountains. I'm not sure if they're from Chicago.
The headquarters is.
But they had the soda fountain. But CVS has better prices.
And they have a better rewards program.
The CVS card. When I'm like, do I have any coupons? They punch in the numbers.
Yeah, but
it's like, oh, I got 30% off.
Although the damn receipts are like a fucking scroll. It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls.
They are. Did you remember that picture I posted?
That was as tall as you.
It was as tall as me. And
tall as you.
All I wanted was to buy conditioner. I bought a bottle of conditioner. And it was the receipt was 6 feet tall. I posted it on my personal Instagram. I should repost that picture on our Instagram, on our podcast Instagram. The receipt was as tall as I am, and all I bought was a bottle of hair conditioner.
I believe it.
CVS.
I believe it. But again, they have the better rewards program.
Okay, so something I want to talk about.
Okay.
And our listeners can chime in.
Well, I feel like our listeners chime in all throughout the entire episode at various parts. I've literally had people text us and DM us to say you and I, the two of you and I have conversations and arguments, and you guys just don't know what's happening, but we do. But we're having them.
Okay, so what do we think? Okay, and actually, I want you to chime in on this since you are in, advertising and all this. Okay. What do you think about the Popeyes
versus
Chik-fil-A chicken sandwich battle? Do you think it's
I think it's great.
Do you think it's genius marketing? Do you think they were both in on it? Do you think it's a fad? Do you think it's stupid? What are your thoughts on it?
So I think it's great.
And do you think they were both in on it?
So I don't think they were both in on it, only because I feel like Chick-fil-A is run by people who are pati seca. So I don't think that
the homophobic chicken that we've discussed is so delicious.
Right. But I feel like they're not a BK. You know what I mean? To that's sassy on social media and does all this type of stuff. I would believe that Popeyes.
I didn't know until you pointed out to me that BK was sassy on social media.
Oh yeah, BK and Oreo own Twitter. and they're great at it. So that's why I don't know if maybe it was, but I don't think it was planned. I think it's something that, Popeyes kind of came out, and on top of that, Popeyes gets to be the brand for everyone, right? They kind of get to come out and be like, we're open on Sundays, and what? Like that type of bullshit. So
And we love the gays.
And we love we're open on Sundays, and we have little pride parades every Sunday, for our fried chicken sandwiches. So I think it's great. I love when brands do things like that. I do love when brands do things like that. I think.
But so do you think that you think they weren't in on it, but then obviously when Popeyes declared war, Chick-fil-A kind of went with it?
Because if you don't, then you look stuffy.
Was it Wendy's in it at one point?
I don't know, but maybe because Wendy's likes to stick their nose in sometimes.
Or do they throw some shade as well?
Yeah. Wendy's likes to pop up and throw some tira la piedra y esconde la mano, and then they go back to their little corner. Those are the things that I enjoy on Twitter. Those are the things that social media is fun. To your point, you said a couple maybe last episode or a couple episodes ago that advertising, it doesn't really work on you. You don't pay attention to it. But those are the things that when they happen and they happen organically and they're fun, I think that it may not sell more chicken sandwiches.
Well, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because
that's what people latch onto.
I go to Popeyes all the time.
They're opening one here? Right?
Yeah, they're opening one close. But I go to the one in Cutler Bay. And
that's so far for chicken.
Well, there's not one in Westchester.
No, this is also why I don't go to Popeyes.
No, but I go to Cutler Bay to go to Popeyes. I love Popeyes. But I've never had their chicken sandwich because I always just end up getting the
chicken.
I end up getting the chicken. I eat, oh my God, I eat like a savage when I go there. I have the 12-piece chicken meal by myself.
This episode brought to you by Popeyes.
But I've never really had the chicken sandwich from Popeyes.
Still.
No, because
okay.
But now I want to. So to go with what I originally said about advertising and what you brought up now, that to me is more effective than if I saw a commercial.
Right.
Because now I want to be, because to me it's like a movement now. It's like, oh, did you have the chicken sandwich battle? Were you part of it?
But that's what works now. I don't want to say it's what works because we can never say what doesn't work when it comes to things that are at retail, because unless you have a coupon code or something specific that you can tie a sale back to, you don't know what brought that person there. But those are the things that are if nothing else, creating brand awareness. And, they can point to, well, our sales peaked or our sales jumped X%.
I mean, there's
while
been
that was happening
lines. There's been
I believe
lines
it.
of people, waiting for the chicken
Do
sandwich.
you remember when the freaking Starbucks and the damn stupid unicorn frappe thing?
Yeah.
That was all social media. There was no commercial about the unicorn frap or whatever.
I went to go have
Ariana Grande thing.
I went to go have the Ariana Grande thingamabobber. I don't even like Ariana Grande. I don't like Starbucks. I don't like coffee. And I found myself waiting in line.
You had a Josh Groban moment.
I was like, you know what it got me? What it got me was the cloud of whipped cream. Because they had a cloud of cream. And I go, ooh, that sounds good.
See, I don't like that much whipped cream. I actually tell them not to put whipped cream on my fraps.
Oh my God.
Because then it winds up melting into it, and then at the end, it's just like
that is the best part.
No me gusta.
Okay, well, whatever.
No,
anyway, so So have you had any of the chicken sandwiches?
I haven't had any. Well, I haven't had Chick-fil-A.
You've never had the Chick-fil-A because the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, that's their shtick.
Well, claro.
That's always been their shtick. I think they say they're the original chicken sandwich.
I don't know about original, but I mean that's.
And let's talk about Chick-fil-A without being. They're homophobic. We've acknowledged it. Let's take the elephant out of the room. Let's just talk purely about the chicken, not about their homophobia.
Right.
Chick-fil-A.
I haven't had it in forever, so I don't even remember. It was good the last time I had it, but I'm literally telling you, if I had Chick-fil-A 10 years ago, it was 10 years.
When I go to Chick-fil-A, and I don't go to Chick-fil-A that often, but whenever I do,
again, there's not one near it. Really,
there's one in Dadeland Mall.
I bet you have to put up with the parking of the mall.
But I go to Dadeland Mall a lot, so. There's one on Flagler.
You do so much driving for fast food when you're not with me.
There's one on Flagler.
Oh yeah, it's in that new area.
Yeah, that new area
of Flagler
that didn't exist. That every time you drive by, you're like, oh, there's a Carrabba's.
Wow.
There's a Texas Roadhouse.
There's a Target here now. Actually, I went to some pizza place there, the Pyology, and I feel like we were walking. As they were walking, and I'm like, ay, qué lindo está esto. Like if we were in freaking Disney Springs.
It's like new Flagler. Yeah. But anyway, I love their their little chicken nuggets. Oh my God.
Oh, I remember those being really good.
I could have 40 of them.
Oh, I remember. Oh.
I think I have.
You probably have. Ain't no shame in that game. Shit.
So I think that you know what? I think that we should go and have them this weekend and put it on our page. Well, we don't get the hurricane.
If we don't get the hurricane, we're gonna have the fried chickens at Popeyes.
The fried chicken at Popeyes and then the homophobic chicken.
I can't have the homophobic chicken.
Well, for the sake of the services of the thing.
I can't. We'll lose.
Well, I
We'll lose
listen.
listeners.
Listen, I'm very against the homophobic chicken as well, and I hate that I like the homophobic chicken.
Okay, what if we go to Chik-fil-A and we don't buy anything, but we go up to someone and we say, "Can I just have a chicken nugget?" We didn't pay for it and it was already bought.
Okay.
Does that cancels out, right? Then we can have it.
I don't know. Let's think about a strategy. So, Chick-fil-A versus Popeyes. Louisiana. No.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
No, it's Louisiana Fast, right?
Yeah, good food fast.
Okay, whatever. Anyway. Oye,
¿Qué pasó?
¿viste los MTV Video Music Awards?
I did, and it's funny because I saw them mostly because of you.
Oh, because of my... Okay, why am I the one now, like, live...
Like live
blogging,
social, whatever, award shows.
award shows when this was your shtick.
It was my shtick for about
For a
a good
very
2 or
long
3
time.
years. It was my shtick. I would do.
But
it
I
on
do
Facebook.
mostly music shows. You used to do them all.
I used to do them all. Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Well, also, I think it's because I don't have cable, and then, since when I didn't have cable, like now we have DirecTV, whatever. But before I didn't have cable, so I just had Hulu, so I wasn't gonna live stream anything or live blog anything. But yeah, no, I was watching it because I was at the gym, and then I got home, and then I was talking to you, and so I was like, well, they have the end of it, and then I started watching, the repeat right after, and there was actually some good performances in there.
There was. Actually, these VMAs didn't suck.
No, they didn't. And I first and foremost, I just want to go on record as saying the best part of the VMAs was Bebe Rexha.
And her curvy self.
For that. But if Bebe Rexha was not at these VMAs and like totally having her best life at the VMAs dancing, right next to her was, my favorite non-person, and the camera would have been focused on Taylor Swift instead. So thank you, Bebe Rexha, for giving the camera something fun and entertaining to look at.
Did you see? So I posted when she got an award, Taylor Swift. I'm like, she has a new album out. That means that she's going to be on every award show now, which means that for the next year, nos tenemos que meter a la Taylor Swift.
Or she could just send Jay Jolie.
Oh my God, is that the drag queen
the
that
drag queen.
John Travolta gave her the award to?
Listen, in all fairness to John Travolta,
It did look like her.
give Taylor Swift 20 more years or 15 more years, and it's just gonna look like Jay Jolie.
Yeah. I love that John Travolta has accepted his baldness.
Me too. That makes me happy.
He looks good.
He does. He should play Lex Luthor. He should.
So
I
let's
see
talk
it.
about the VMAs in general, because I've always loved the VMAs. I still watch them. For me, like in the peak years, the mid 90s to I would say mid 2000s. Like
Yeah, I
like
would
that
say
94 through like
after that early 80s
to
start,
2005,
that's the peak.
2006. Like those 10, 12 years, like they were on fire, the
they were.
VMAs.
They were.
And that was like one of like the highlights of my year in terms of like television.
Right.
And do you still think that they're relevant? Because
No.
at one point in time, the VMAs were the single most relevant music award show on television.
They were very pop culture or
Right.
Yeah.
And big things happen. Like think about all the big things that have happened in VMAs.
True. I mean, Madonna rolling around.
There's just so many. To Britney classic moments.
So many Britney classic moments.
Yeah.
I don't think they're relevant anymore.
But do you think it's because of MTV's? Because MTV's not relevant anymore?
I think there's a lot of factors. So they're not relevant. The easiest thing to point to is that because MTV's not really relevant anymore. So, is it really quote unquote the cool thing to do, right? But I think there's also something else to be said that there is literally for almost every month a televised award type show. So there's a degree of award fatigue, whether it's you've got the MTV Music Awards, MTV Movie, and now Movie and TV Awards. You have the Oscars, the Globes, SAG, the Critics' Choice. the Emmys, the Daytime Emmys, the Teen Choice Awards, the Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards,
But there used to be more. We used to have
the
the
AMAs,
we used to have
the Blockbuster Video Awards.
the Blockbuster Awards which are no longer.
But there was Premio Juventud. You have Premio Lo Nuestro. I'm just
we
saying
used to have
the Billboards.
the Radio Music Awards, which are no longer. I don't know if it's so much award fatigue.
But I think what I'm saying it contributes is what I'm saying. Then on top of that, 'cause again, it comes back to things we said before. There's so much content now that there's only so much you can watch, so much you can just take in. Then I think there's also something to the fact that we have access to these celebrities all year long now. So if somebody's performing at a concert, we all whip out our phone and we videotape the performance, we put it on YouTube, and now I've seen Fulana de Tal sing the song. So when she shows up at the VMAs,
But the VMAs was
Unless she
always the
does
chance to do
something-
something special.
but
To do
unless
something
they,
really out of the
but
box.
unless they do something out of the box, it's just another performance. We have so much.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that the VMAs for a very long time, I think that that's where artists, especially the ones who performed, went to like really like push
wow.
the envelope
Wow,
and
the
like
audience, yeah.
excuse me, like really think outside of the box because from Madonna's
Unless you're Pink,
from
and then she shows you
Madonna's
gymnastics
performance of Vogue,
That's right.
Marie Antoinette,
That's right.
style to Britney. It's funny because everybody talks when they talk about Britney and the VMAs, they talk about the snake when she did Slave for You. To me that's not her most iconic. To me,
It's Satisfaction.
It was the year before when she did Satisfaction and Oops, and she took off the jacket, the suit,
Yeah.
and she had that body colored,
The flesh tone.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's like my life before this moment and my life after this moment. Especially at the end when she's like, ooh, I did it again. Boom! And it's like, whoa!
I know.
Like, Britney, what it is right now.
I love the little NSYNC medley that she did the first year too.
Yeah, that she did the computerized version of Baby One More
yeah.
Time. That's,
Little did we know that she would never perform that song in its single version ever.
I like what she says, in sync. Now you may get down. When I watched that performance, the one of the 99, which it would have been her first performance and in Sync's first performance.
Right.
So you remember that she went first, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then behind there's like a classroom
It
set.
was a classroom, yeah.
When she starts the performance, like the kids sitting in the desk are not in sync. So whenever I watch it, I like to see if I could catch the moment when
Yeah,
in
it's
sync
true.
kind of like walks in and sits down. Because then when she leaves, that the
They're
bell
there.
rings,
They're there, yeah.
they're in the desk
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
yeah.
like stand.
But it's
like,
not them.
But at
It's
that
not.
moment, it's them. But originally,
Right,
it
it wasn't.
So when I watch it, I'm always like, I wonder what's the moment.
Yeah,
Never mind.
TJ is not Joey Fatone.
No,
No, decidedly not.
But actually, I have to say, so these VMAs, I noticed that they did something that I thought was very smart. They had a lot of classic acts, and I think that if the whole hip hop thing at the end,
right. But that was I guess I'm lumping that as one performance. That's why I say
right. But they had a lot of like old school people on the
True.
show, whether it was presenting.
Oh, can we just, now you said old school people, can we all just come to terms with the fact that, and listen, we just have to embrace this as a society and move on. Lenny Kravitz is a vampire.
He is.
He's a vampire. He walked off that stage, he drank some infant's blood, and he's just ageless.
And he's cool.
And it's just never, because you put that Lenny Kravitz that was on Monday morning or Monday night, whatever,
Yeah.
next to Are You Gonna Go My Way, Lenny Kravitz, and I defy you to tell me which one is which.
And it's like 26 years apart.
Right.
This is a good song.
He's such a good artist. He's just fantastic.
But from him to Peppa to then all the hip hop to Missy Elliott. And what's nice
Peppa
is
está buenísima.
¿Quién?
Peppa.
Yeah, Peppa looked great.
Peppa looks great.
But with the Video Vanguard Award, which I thought was really interesting that they didn't call it the Michael Jackson
Missy
video.
did.
But I know Missy did, which I'm glad that she did.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
I
Because
get why they didn't.
I know why they didn't, but they would always say the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard
Right,
Award. But anyway, but usually, obviously, the Vanguard Award is going to go to a more classic or older act.
Should.
But that coupled with then like the nostalgia act they
Right,
did at
right,
the end.
right.
I thought that was perfect because you're giving a little bit of something to everybody.
It was so bizarre to see Queen Latifah back in like that look.
Yes.
Because I'm like, but she's an Oscar nominee. Like, you know, she wears pantsuits now, like a respectable middle-aged woman.
Mira, you know what I was thinking? And you know that I like Beyonce. I like Beyonce. So I'm not a Beyonce kind of hater like you and some friends that we have. Vamos en Merlot. But you know how Beyonce now, because of her homecoming special,
Right.
she was wearing like the big like African queen regalia
Just the
and all
wrap
that.
and all that, yeah.
That they were like, oh my God, she's so representing her culture. I'm like, Queen Latifah did that
Girl.
like 30 years ago.
Thank you. Before anybody was calling it cool.
Yes, and she was like a pioneer because
Damn
she used to
right.
wear like the big like again.
She used to wear
African-
I want to call them like a crown. It's not a crown. It's like a hat. It's
yes,
like
and she used to wear like the Africa like
the
big
the
emblem,
charm,
like the charms.
yeah.
So I was like, Queen Latifah was rocking that years ago, like
Listen.
30 years ago.
Listen, Beyonce had to be called queen by her fans. Queen Latifah done named herself royalty.
You know that I didn't know.
Go
There's
on,
a little
Dana Owens.
Beyonce side thing. There's a really famous director who did a lot of films in the 60s that Beyonce's videos, a lot of them are modeled after.
Like from Single Ladies.
Single Ladies.
But that's the same director, right? That you're talking about?
It's Single Ladies. It's Naomi Campbell Walk. Naomi Campbell Walk.
I'm just sitting here watching.
Get
you
Me
trying
Bodied.
to
Get Me
Get
Bodied.
Me Bodied, okay.
And Countdown. I forget the name of the director that he was very famous in
Film
the
director.
60s.
Yeah.
Her videos are almost frame by frame
From those
from his
recreations
movies.
of those.
That the video to Get Me Bodied, the original one,
Mm-hmm.
Shirley MacLaine is in it.
Are you talking about Bob Fosse?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. I love how you're like that director. Only
Yeah.
one of the most legendary
I couldn't think right now.
choreographers, directors. He did Sweet Charity with
Okay,
Shirley MacLaine.
I'm taking eye drops.
And
Okay,
Emma's Maybe.
he did
is-
make.
Well, Emma's
the aim
Maybe is based off of a scene in Sweet
Okay.
Charity. Like almost shot for shot.
yes.
Yes.
That maybe. Okay, so what I wanted to get to in
Oh, Bob Fosse.
okay, what I wanted to get to in terms of the VMAs.
Okay.
Listen, I can't know everything. Okay,
I guess that's fair.
but at least I knew who he was and what he did. I just couldn't remember his name.
Okay, fine. I will
can know
give it to
everything.
you. He was only, a thing in the birdcage.
I haven't seen the Birdcage that much.
It's like Fosse, Martha Graham.
You know what? He's not in Vogue, so he's not named.
So he didn't meet Madonna
No,
at any point.
no. You know what's like
for a
really messed up?
compliment?
When Vogue came out, I think I don't know,
was
most of the people that she named were alive, and now none of them are.
Were they?
Yeah.
Ginger Rogers, Fred Astaire. I think Fred Astaire was dead because his last movie was Xanadu. So he was dead. I don't know about Ginger Rogers.
Lauren Bacall, Betty Davis, Paul Newman,
Greta Garbo
uh,
was dead by then.
yeah, but a lot of them were.
Okay. It was like a 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but what I really wanted to mention about the VMAs was,
Yes.
did you notice how many Latino acts were in the VMAs?
I did.
And there's even a Latino
It's a
award,
VMA,
Best Latin Video.
Yeah.
So what do we think about that? That's
So,
what I really wanted to talk about.
I love it, first of all, because as two people who grew up watching the maybe 1 or 2 hour block on Telemundo of MTV Latino with Daisy Fuentes.
Oh, MTV Internacional with Daisy
Internacional,
Fuentes.
There you go.
Do you guys remember MTV Internacional with Daisy Fuentes?
so good.
That was one of the things that I used to look forward to
On
in my
Sundays.
weekend. On Sundays.
Sundays afternoon?
No, it was Saturdays. It was
it
Saturdays.
Saturdays?
It was Saturdays at 1
Oh, okay.
on Telemundo.
Yeah, I remember everything but the time and day, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love that. But I think it's about time. I think it's also, I'm trying to remember if they did it last year. I want to say that they did. But I could be wrong.
Even if they did it last year, it's new. It's something
But
that's just very
Maluma
new.
was there last year, so maybe there was
Yeah,
that.
Maluma baby. You can't say Maluma. I was saying Maluma baby.
I don't, but okay.
Pretty boy, dirty boy.
Do you want to just keep going? What other catchphrases you got?
Nada baby sin contrato.
But I think it's great. But I think it's funny you bring that up because, so this year, again, we can't have nice things. So the artist who won the Latin video thing this year was Rosalia, who you didn't know who she was. When da la casualidad que I was on the phone with you when she won, and you're like, "Who's this girl?" And I'm like, "Oh, is it Rosalia?" And you're like, "How did you know that?" You know,
From España Española.
we had a Hawthorne moment where I just knew what was happening. Now people are like, "Well, she's not really Latin. She's actually Hispanic because she's from Spain, and Latin is only, like."
Are you kidding
from
me?
Latin America. Oh,
Are you kidding me?
no, I wish I was. So it's opened that whole,
Are you kidding me?
Latin versus Hispanic, Latino,
Are you?
Latinx.
Oh my God! Who's like bringing this up?
But that's why I say this is why we can't have nice things. As opposed to just...
And also, wait,
as opposed to having the
didn't she feature
Ozuna in her performance.
Right.
And she's with J Balvin and... what's the name of that song that the video is them in an airplane?
Okay, you should just be happy that somebody who speaks Spanish, who's representing in your culture, impart your culture.
I agree.
Because
is having recognition on
Spain
a national platform.
Spain is the motherland.
It's a national platform on U.S. TV, U.S. English language TV. Again, this is why we can't have nice
who's saying
things.
that?
This is why we can't have nice things.
Who's saying that?
I don't know, the typical HuffPo voices or something like that.
Is this another op-ed?
Well,
I'm so sick and tired of op-eds.
You don't like
if you want to
don't like opinion editorials
If
anymore?
you want to listen to opinions, listen to Pero Let Me Tell You.
Our opinions are the best. I'm just saying.
It's like I go to NBCnews.com and CNN. It's like all these op-eds. It's like I'm not coming here.
When did op-eds become like the news?
I'm not coming here to read the freaking opinions.
I'm actually looking it up right now because I'm looking it up in the news because I remember seeing it because she had Con Altura. That's the song that won. It was on NBC News. Breakout music star Rosalia highlights Latin artists versus Latinx debate. E! News did why Rosalia's win at the VMAs is causing controversy. I'm looking this up right now. Not only did she win.
Okay, let's break this down. This is our learn segment from the Listen, Laugh, and Learn. Okay, so
wait. Hold on. I'm gonna say, because the thing is they keep referring to her as the next Latinx star, or the new face of Latinx music, and so this is according to E! Online, so take it with the biggest grain of salt. The Latinx umbrella, for those in the dark, is merely a catch-all for the region of the Americas, where Spanish and Portuguese, as well as French, are primarily spoken. It includes more than 20 nations that roughly boils down to all of Hispanic America, Brazil, and even Haiti. So Haiti, according to this, is even Latinx.
So Latinx is not Latino.
Apparently not. As such, Rosalia's roots in Barcelona, for some reason I wanted to say Barcelona, to summarily exclude her from the categorization. There's an entire ocean between her and the Latinx people, and while there's certainly no monolith, her undeniable Eurocentric privilege means that there's a lot of life experience she'll never share with the Colombian and Puerto Rican singers she's teamed up with this year alone.
Who wrote that?
Hold on. But with a country like the U.S., who loves to lazily lump all Spanish-speaking people into one category when it comes to music, where do we put Rosalia? And they've even asked her about it. She says, if Latin music is music made in Spanish, then my music is part of Latin music. But I do know that if I say I'm a Latina artist, that's not correct, is it? I'm part of a generation that's making music in Spanish. So I don't know. I'd prefer others to decide if I'm included in that, no? It's one of those things.
Okay.
Let me see if they give the name.
So this is
Billy. So the last name is Nilles. So I don't know if it's Billy Niguez or Niles.
So up to maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, before the Latinx term existed,
Right.
there was Latino and Hispanic.
Right.
So Hispanic was anybody who came from a country of origin that spoke Spanish, including Spain. Right? So Spain, Mexico, Argentina, Cuba, Puerto Rico, all these countries were Hispanic countries. You are Hispanic because you come from a country where they speak Spanish.
Correct.
That's why if you're from Brazil, you are not Hispanic.
Correct.
Right. Latino then were people that spoke Spanish in Latin America. Right? Mm-hmm. So somebody from Spain is not necessarily Latino.
But they are Hispanic.
But they're also Hispanic.
Correct.
Right? They are Hispanic, but they're not
Which is
Latino.
what they're saying. Which is essentially what they're saying.
That's why a lot of times like Cubans You know, like especially old school Cubans were like, we're not Latino, we're Hispanic because our parents are from Spain.
Right,
you know,
right.
I want to go up the whole, we're European.
They want to pull in Argentina.
Right. So that was now. So now Latinx, which, you know, is another label because, you know, we just need
Latinx
more
is
labels.
essentially Latino.
Okay, but now you're telling me that based on that article, Latinx also includes like Haiti?
Yeah, which I have no idea why.
Does it include Jamaica too? No, it doesn't. So it includes Haiti.
Maybe
okay.
because Haiti has dumb rep on the other side?
No, because you said French.
No, I know what I'm saying. Maybe it's Haiti and not Jamaica because Haiti has. Again, I'm not making up these rules. I don't know.
So now Latinx includes. So now Latinx is now a new term. It's like, is it now a new category? Like, is it an official category then?
Apparently, I don't know.
This is what I don't I don't understand all these like categories among categories among categories.
To those of you who love his rants, you're welcome.
No, because it makes no sense. Like it makes so now.
Well, the whole reason. So the reason Latinx even started, and again, I don't know where it's heading.
Didn't Latinx start with?
It was to make a gender neutral
right.
version.
I remember when
instead of saying Latino Latina,
right,
you say Latinx.
Okay.
That is at its heart, at the crux of it. That is why Latinx exists.
Right, I don't think it's that anymore.
Whatever becomes a different story, but I'm saying that is why it exists. Which I will take a step back and say, if you wanted to be so gender neutral, there was already a word for it. It's called Latin. You just say
Latin. I'm Latin.
I'm Latin, and the conversation is done.
In fact,
so
that's what I say many times. I go, I'm Latin.
I'm Latin, right? But you know, we got to complicate our existence. So you know, right?
Okay. I don't subscribe to that. You know, I'm all for inclusiveness and all that, but I don't subscribe to that. And
that being
this whole categorization now of you're this and you're that. So now you're Latinx. So somebody who's from Haiti is
according to this article,
you know, culturally similar to somebody who's Puerto Rican, or culturally similar to somebody who's Mexican.
I love that they tossed in the thing about her having like Eurocentric privilege. It's like, what the hell are you even talking about? Mm-hmm. It's not even about that. It's about, so you can be from European. Hey, newsflash, you can be from Europe and still have a shitty upbringing.
I'm not sure. Okay. I know where they're going with the Eurocentric. They're going with the white privilege, the European.
Well,
white
the fact
privilege.
that they use privilege in the
right.
phrasing, yes.
Right. They're going with the European
white privilege.
White privilege,
right.
And I would argue that Spain and Portugal don't fall under that category of white privilege because, first of all, they're Iberian. Okay, they're Iberian. So most people from Spain and Portugal are even considered white because they're Iberian. Right. That's why when you do 23andMe, okay, and you're from Spain, which, you know, most
Hispanics,
as Cubans,
Latinos,
most of our roots are directly from Spain. My grandparents were born in Spain, in either the mainland or in the Canary Islands, right? It doesn't come out as white European. It comes out as Balkan, Iberian. Right, white European is like the Scandinavian countries, England, Scotland, Germany,
Anglo-Saxon.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Though that is the white European. Portuguese and Spanish are not white Europeans. They never have been. So whoever wrote that, first of all, is not correct. See, I didn't know Fosse's name, but I can hell argue this. So that's why when you do a genealogy test and you're from Spain or your heritage is from Spain, it shows up that you're Iberian, right? It's the Iberian Peninsula.
I'm not arguing.
Right? So in terms of a distinction, you know, if you want to get to the root of it, the root of, you know, is she a Latina? Okay, no, she's technically not a Latina.
Right.
Okay, but how can you deny that Spanish music, whether it's flamenco music or pop music, has not directly influenced the music of the Americas, of the Latin Americas?
That's the people who came over were from Spain.
It's all mixed because these were Spanish conquistadors, that came and, you know, for better or for worse,
Brought that culture and
brought that
here we are.
culture.
Right.
So I mean, you speak Spanish in Mexico because the conquistadors were from Spain. You speak Spanish in Nicaragua because the conquistadors
Swiss.
were from Spain. That is why. So I mean, do people ever stop and think about that?
That requires too much time. It's easier to just be righteously indignant about things and how dare you.
Yeah, actually, it's so funny that the other day I was kind of giving Tristan, my 5-year-old, a cheat sheet because he's very into
Well, he's huge on the countries.
on countries. Yeah. So he's very big into like explorers, right?
Right.
And I told him, hey, listen, like kind of a cheat sheet, kind of sort of, in terms of what country, colonized what area explored what area is by the language, right? So like the reason why in Canada they speak some French is because France, Champlain, the explorer, conquered or colonized, part of what Canada at that moment, and then they went down like the whole Mississippi River, and they, colonized also a part of what would become the United States, so on and so forth. The same way that like the Spanish came to South America, and the reason why Brazil speaks Portuguese is because Portugal. Like that's kind of like a cheat sheet. So apparently,
again, he's 5.
Basic,
so this is
basic, like I don't know, world history 101 is kind of passes people's minds.
We've had this conversation. That's not the way it is. That's why.
Like people always have to say, this is the example of the internet gay people. Instead of being happy that we freaking got a Latin, Latin,
right?
Gender
neutral,
a Latin video category in the
on
freaking
the primary
VMAs.
Primary VMAs. It's not like off camera,
right? Like in ceremonies held earlier,
right? Exactly. The freaking creative Emmys don't even happen on TV. Okay,
right? No, let's not be happy at this. Let's tear down the woman who won by no fault of her own.
They weren't attacking her per se. I mean, they were attacking
and they were talking about her European-centric.
Well, no, but
whiteness.
But their whole thing was just like well, she's not Latin. So again, we can't have nice things.
Anyway, I need a glass of water or a chicken sandwich, one of the two. So what do you have for me?
Wait, those are the two things that you either a chicken sandwich or a glass of water?
Yeah, I don't know, because I thought I need a glass of water to bring me down from, my soapbox now.
I love it. So unlike a couple weeks ago where I was just like, I don't know what to talk about. I'm so tired. I haven't been even home and blah, blah. I do have something to talk about. And it's something that is actually... I think it just happened on Monday.
Como dice que dijo, sábado gigante, mejor pretexto para quedarse en casa. Go ahead.
This happened on lunes pequeño. I don't know. And since then, I haven't really followed up on it, to be honest with you. But I know that there's other things that are being affected by it. So did you hear that Johnson & Johnson had to pay $572 million? Million.
How much?
In Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
In Oklahoma, which was the first. Basically, so they had to pay $572 million.
Because there's another one that had to pay billions.
Well, they offered billions. This happened, I think, yesterday. I forget who it is, but they offered like 1.2 billion, like a settlement.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, Johnson & Johnson, there was a case in Oklahoma against the drug manufacturer Johnson & Johnson, in which they were ordered to pay $572 million in a opioid trial. Essentially,
I'm all up on this.
Being the first one that of about 2,000 other lawsuits. That
because that lawsuit was the first. Oklahoma was the first state per se to file a lawsuit.
Well, because they were able. They're basically making an adjustment, or they're making an interpretation of the public nuisance law. And basically, what they're saying is that the entire opioid crisis, in some part, is Johnson & Johnson's fault. I mean, when you hold somebody accountable for that much money, that is ultimately what you're saying. They are, of course, going to appeal because that's, nobody ever says, $1 million? Okay, here you go. I have my opinions on this.
Give me your opinion because I have mine.
Okay. I don't think they should be held liable.
Why?
First and foremost, because they were prescribing something that was approved by the FDA.
Okay.
So they were not It's not like they put something out on the market that they were saying, in a back alley saying, here, try this, kids. It'll make you feel great. There was, they went through the proper channels. They did state, to whatever reason, and all drugs to a degree can become addictive. I mean, Oxycontin, I took Percocets and Oxycontin after my appendicitis. I think I took it like once or twice and then I was fine. I will say it goes great with a martini. But, ultimately, it's, I think, and also Johnson & Johnson specifically, they're basically being brought up as the poster child and being held liable. But I think that in Oklahoma specifically, they make up like maybe 1 to 2% of all the opioid prescriptions that are done. So, again, and there's a lot of factors like that where, do I think that they put out a dangerous product? Yes, but ultimately Johnson & Johnson also can't prescribe the drug themselves.
Okay.
It has to be a doctor who does it.
Right.
And I believe, I don't remember the exact number now, but there was a number of prescriptions, and I'm actually scrolling through it now to see if I can find it. There was a disproportionate number of prescriptions, and then when you look at it compared to how many people actually are in Oklahoma, like the population to prescriptions, and again, I'm looking for this right now. It was like, hold on. So, 18 million prescriptions were written in a state with a population of 3.9 million.
Right.
Johnson & Johnson is not handing those prescriptions out with No More Tears baby shampoo.
Okay.
So I don't know to what degree they should be held accountable for. And my biggest concern with this is that now anything that may come out from a drug perspective, which all drugs have a potential for danger and abuse, now it's nobody's fault but the manufacturer, as opposed to, number one, personal responsibility to a degree, which I know sounds horrible, and I'm not trying to blame the victims in this case, but there has to be a degree of personal accountability, and doctors.
Okay.
I mean, that's ultimately how these things are getting out into the community.
So you believe
legally.
Drug manufacturer does a drug that has side effects and obviously can potentially lead to death if you overdose. But the burden is not on the manufacturer to make sure that the drug is being abused because they're not the ones who prescribes it.
I mean, they can't control that.
Okay. I respectfully disagree.
I had no doubt in my mind.
And I think that the Johnson & Johnson is one of many lawsuits. No, it is one of many lawsuits. And actually, Johnson & Johnson is not even one of the biggest players in this.
That's what I'm saying. It's like 1%.
So let me tell you the story of Barry Schultz. Okay. And Barry Schultz was a doctor actually here in South Florida. Okay. So Barry Schultz is in jail for 175 years.
Wow.
Okay. So he's been the first.
Live to be almost as old as
He's
Lenny
been
Kravitz.
the first doctor. He's been the first doctor who was incarcerated over the opioid crisis. Okay. So he, in the late 90s, early 2000s, started opening up pain management clinics. Right. And in fact, in Oakland Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, there was a moment where in I don't know, like a 5-mile stretch, there was 40 pain.
I think this sounds familiar.
There was 40
like those pill mills.
40 pain management.
Yeah,
it's pain management.
No, but they're pill mills is essentially what
pretty much.
called,
you go there, you say you have pain, they give you a prescription.
Right.
He wrote to one patient. There was one patient. Well, there were several patients, but specifically, there was one patient that he gave prescriptions up to 23,000 pills. 23,000 pills in an 8-month period.
But okay.
Right. And there was, and it goes on. There's other patients that he gave 20,000 or whatever. Right. He, I think, in the time span of I don't know, a couple of years, prescribed 6 million pills.
That's insane.
Right. So you're thinking, okay, this is a guy who's messing up, right? I mean, this is a guy who's doing the illegal stuff. What you have to remember is that these pharmaceutical companies, because they're dealing with a drug, they have a heightened burden. And a heightened sense of responsibility or legal burden over their product.
Okay.
Right? They're not selling socks. They're selling drugs. Right? Which can be very addictive. So why are pharmaceutical companies, the manufacturer and the distributor, to blame?
Okay.
Right? Because if you are a distributor or a pharmaceutical company who's getting these orders in, you knowing the potential side effects of your product and knowing how easily people can be addicted should be alarmed. You should know, you either knew or should have known that if a little pharmacy in the middle of Akron, Ohio is, you're servicing that little pharmacy 3 million pills a year or every 6 months,
Right,
whatever time frame, you should know, or you should have known, that that's a problem. Because you have a heightened burden because of the product that you're doing. So yes, I think they are very much to blame. They were making money.
I have zero understanding of how the pharmaceutical business works.
Right.
They do have oversight over that. Again, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I don't know what the
if
chain
they
of
had
command is.
oversight over that, then the oversight failed.
Okay.
Right? Because again, in law, there's something called strict liability. This is not necessarily strict liability, but in law, there's something called strict liability that if something goes wrong, you are automatically to blame, right? The classic kind of law school example is if you're a blasting company, right? And you went to blast something and a house maybe a certain, mile or two
Right,
away
distance, right.
is destroyed or affected by the blasting, that's strict liability. You are automatically
You're at fault.
At fault, no questions asked. This, I don't think, heightens to strict liability, but does heighten to a heightened burden because of the product that you are dealing with. You are dealing
Is
with
that why they went through the public nuisance route?
probably, yeah, because they knew or should have known that if they are, Johnson and Johnson, you're talking about one of the biggest companies in the country,
yeah.
right? Or in the world. Those people have data as to what's happening, right? They sell to a distributor, or they send their products to a distributor. Pero you just got an order from this little rinky-dinky pharmacy in Akron, Ohio for tens of thousands of pills. How is that not going to raise a red flag? Over and over and over and over and over and over again, because this wasn't one isolated incident or a few isolated incidents. This was a widespread epidemic. So how does not, you being this powerful company that should have protocols in place to prevent this type of thing because of the type of product that you're dealing with, how can you have let this go on for so long? And this went on for years and years and years. This wasn't somebody messed up. John, at product services, John wasn't doing his job.
John.
A batch of cargo went out is tainted. No,
Right.
This was systematical. Systematic. There we go.
Not to be confused with the Pointer Sisters automatic.
It's funny how there's just some words that just
And some words
trick
just
you.
sound like you should throw an extra syllable in there.
Yeah.
They do. There's some words that will always get me. Because systematic seems like it should be it's systematical. Of course it's systematical.
What's the one that
Because you can say systematically.
systematically in last episode? Oh, resign. That in Spanish I say resign. I say resigno. And isn't resignar when you pray?
No, eso es presignar.
Presignar.
Resignar is when you resign yourself to something.
Okay,
Like,
whatever.
me resigno que esta es mi situación.
So yeah, and that doctor in particular, I saw his interview, and he has no remorse. He's like, I was providing a service.
But that's what I'm saying. These are
They're all to blame.
I'm just saying my biggest issue with these types of things is that you mentioned this a couple, and I forgot what the case was that we were talking about. The one about the lady with the go kill yourself on the text, which I saw a documentary, by the way, a couple
you
weeks
did?
ago. Oof. Damn. That was
But did you see
fucked
how
up
it wasn't
documentary.
as one-dimensional
As they wanted to make it
as
out.
it initially appeared to be? It was very layered.
Yeah, I also hadn't thought about Leah Michelle that much. In
Did you see
years.
the thing about Glee?
Yeah, I'm like, and I loved Glee. I watched all the seasons. Pero bueno, my concern is that it opens a certain door where now anything similar, maybe not to that magnitude, you can jump the gun to blame the manufacturer.
But that's not a bad thing.
But it's not always their fault. I mean, because
no,
they're not the inherent. We're not to your point. We're not talking about something where it's like I went to the store and I bought a toy and it had sharp edges. Well, you know what, Mattel?
Okay, when you take
You
a
put
drug,
that-
any drug that's prescribed, right? We know that all these drugs have side effects,
Absolutely.
right? You watch these commercials,
No,
and
eso
you're
es
like,
hello.
you're like, oh my god, you may have this and this, but you take it anyway, right?
Out of necessity.
I think that none of these people, and you take that risk. That's an assumption of the risk.
Correct.
You assumed the risk that can have.
Right. You can be that
So
0.01%.
I think that to all these people who took these opioids, especially the ones who legitimately took them for
Yeah, we're
pain
talking about
management,
legit,
right? They assumed the risk, right? But you don't, when you take a drug, you don't assume that you're going to become addicted to it to the point that you could die or are going to die or overdosed.
But isn't there an inherent risk of addiction with all drugs?
Right, Imad, but the problem is that there is an inherent risk of addiction, but the problem is that if there is something that is so addictive, there needs to be parameters on that in terms of it being regulated. That's why drugs are regulated.
But that's what I'm saying. But aren't they? Again, are they not
Well,
regulated?
clearly this wasn't regulated enough. It will probably be regulated now, but clearly it wasn't.
I don't know.
Because again, if you are a drug manufacturer and your product has skyrocketed in terms of production in the last 10 years, right? And you are also hearing about more people than ever ODing on
your product.
Let's not even say it's your product because there's several manufacturers.
Well, what I mean by your product is products that have the
opioids, right? Because there's several pharmaceutical companies. There's several pharmaceutical companies that produce opioids.
Right.
So if you're a company that you produce opioids, whichever they may be, and your product is skyrocketing in terms of usage and being purchased, but then simultaneously, there's also an epidemic that's occurring in the country of people ODing on your product. I mean, I can't think of that being a more obvious red flag. That, again, that's where that heightened burden comes in, and where, as a company, you have a responsibility of having some type of control or something to try to curtail that in whatever way you can. But, at the end of the day, companies have to make money.
That's profit.
So if if your profit is up and your board of directors are happy and your investors are happy, everybody's happy. It doesn't matter that everybody, there's people dying left and right from abuse. And yes, because I know you're very big on personal, responsibility. Right. And there is a certain aspect of personal responsibility. But the thing is that if the company knows people are dying and people are ODing on this and all they care about is their profits, then this is not only about personal about your personal responsibility. So yeah, no, I actually agree with it.
Well, I don't disagree that something needs to be done. I just don't know. I just have those fears of, blaming it on on everyone else.
Yeah,
that's how I feel. But that's my my 10 cents. You know what 10 cents used to get you?
What?
Soda.
It's soda time, isn't it?
Damn right. Bang, bang, bang. Soda. I just thought of Cindy Crawford.
About Cindy Crawford?
Yeah.
All right.
Hello. You know why I thought of Cindy Crawford?
Oh, because of the Pepsi commercial.
Yes. Sitting there like, why would you think of Cindy
For
Crawford?
those who think young.
Oh, Brittany.
Mariah did a whole Pepsi campaign that went.
She did?
She a whole Pepsi campaign.
Really?
That came and went and nobody.
What? When?
During the emancipation of Mimi, and there was like a whole music video of it. She was like in a motorcycle flying. Yeah, there were ringtones, wallpapers for your phone. Yeah.
Okay, I need to look this up.
The problem,
did this happen over a weekend?
The problem was that the song wasn't catchy.
Oh, it was no move over.
No. I still get excited when I watch that. Move over, yeah, don't do it over.
Yeah.
Next craze, next wave.
Next phase. So do you have your last soda?
I do.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Sure. I'll go first.
I was like, sure to which one?
I'm going to give my last soda. It's sweet and simple. I'm going to give my last soda to this year's MTV Video Vanguard recipient, Missy Elliott. Because Missy Elliott is freaking awesome.
You're not saying her full name.
Missy Misdemeanor Elliott.
There you go.
She is freaking awesome. And that woman, she is the definition of an entertainer, of a producer, of, her music videos. Did you notice the girl who had the solo?
Yes, Alison Stoner.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I didn't know it was her.
I mean, claro,
because-
she's 20 now.
Right, because I didn't know. It's
She's
been a
an
while.
adult.
But I remember seeing it. I'm like, okay, this means something.
Yes.
I'm going to have to look it up.
And she's still a phenomenal dancer.
But she could put to shame any of these little
any of these up and comers,
new bitches out there.
Oh well, okay, we're going that route. Oh,
Thank you. Next.
I don't think she'll get a Video Vanguard.
Although who's probably going to get the Video Vanguard next year or in a couple of years is Taylor Swift.
For what?
Because she's won Video of the Year like 3 or 4 times already.
Yeah, but that doesn't make you a Vanguard.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't. I'm just saying. They should go to my
Yeah, I don't know. That Toddler Call is all up in her Kool-Aid and,
You know what? Me va a caer mal la soda. Me va a caer mal. So my last soda actually goes to a series that recently finished its 2nd season.
The Heifer Corporation.
Yes, they are a reality show now. They're on exclusively on Crackle.
Oh, not on Pop?
Not on Pop. They're on Crackle.
Okay.
No, dumbass. You need to calm down.
You need to calm down.
Canción pa' caerme mal. Anyway, you're ruining my soda.
Okay.
So my last soda goes to the a show that just recently finished, a 2nd season, Pose, on FX.
You mean Sex in the City?
No, Pose.
That's totally it, though.
I'm like, what would you? No, Pose. So for those who don't know, it's set. This season was set in the 90s, actually in 91, and it tells the story. It's the LGBT community in New York during that time frame during the AIDS crisis. But what it's most notable for is 2 things. Number one, because it has a primarily transgender protagonist cast. Like most of the characters are transgender women. Mm-hmm. But more than that, it also features several of the main characters are Latino.
I'm glad you mentioned this because there's something I want to talk about that's going to be... I want to talk about... Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So the lead is MJ Rodriguez. She's Latina. India Moore is another Latina. And there's also this guy who plays Papi, Angel Curiel. Mm-hmm. And he actually, I'm putting this out into the universe the same way we did with Juan Pablo, would love to have him on the show because aside from being Dominican, Angel grew up in Liberty City.
¿Qué vaina es esa?
He grew up in Liberty City here in South Florida, Miami. So, I love the show. I love that it's a positive, it's just a feel-good show. And it highlights, the Latino, Latinx, whatever you want to call them, culture. And, and again, Angel, if you're listening, or if you know, or if somebody who listens to us knows Angel Curiel.
You know what I would tell Ryan Murphy?
Ryan
Murphy. I'm not good on names today.
No.
I saw like 3 or 4 episodes of the first season. Mm-hmm. I liked it. It's just I have so many shows.
TV. It's too much
There's
TV.
So many shows that it's
TV.
like, and then Suits predominates my life.
That's true. I get it. And now Pearson. So that's that's become
so. Which actually today they're airing the pilot episode of Suits. But anyway, I think that if they really want to be authentic to the New York drag ball of the late 80s and early 90s, they should totally get in there. Madonna's Vogue dancers.
Well. So
I only saw the first three episodes. So if
season,
they subsequently came in,
this season,
I haven't seen it.
I don't think they brought the Vogue dancers in just because they're a little older now. But this season takes place, like I said, in 91. And actually the whole thing, it kicks off. Vogue has just premiered.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a hit. It's number 1 in the charts. And now, everybody, like one of the guys is teaching Vogue classes at the local Y because it's the new hot trend or whatever. So it's, what happens to a community when all of a sudden you become super, 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 super popular and then the trend goes away? You still have to continue, even though you're not the cool new thing anymore. So people, how does that affect people's perception?
Yeah,
of
but
you
got to see it from the point of view that before...
I'm saying that's the theme of the season.
But before Madonna did Vogue... That was completely underground.
Absolutely.
And after Madonna did Vogue, everybody knew what voguing was.
Right. Yeah.
Whether you cared or whether you're not cared or whether you were...
But
everybody knew what voguing was.
But it's like, what does it mean when something that is part of your culture goes mainstream and then...
I mean,
now
yeah.
you're no longer mainstream.
I know. Like, I get upset when people
Like
like
what
something
Robbie
that I
Williams.
like, you know. So I imagine a whole culture, you know,
Right,
imagine.
right,
But actually, something that I kind of want to talk about from your last soda, which is more of a topic, but what is your opinion on? And I've actually wanted to bring this up as a full topic for a while, but I always keep forgetting.
Okay.
What is your opinion on the whole thing with Scarlett Johansson?
Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one that I don't know. I know enough of the background other than what the clips and buzzes that I've heard. So I don't know if I feel equipped to.
Well, because the whole thing with the whole thing with
right
Scarlett Johansson took a role.
She was going to play a
transgender
man to woman.
Right, and she got a shitload amount of backlash from that,
Right.
which eventually
She
led
dropped out of the
her
project.
dropping the project.
Right.
Now, you can make an argument that she's a character actress because she has done some movies that are really out there. You know, she's not a Julia Roberts.
Right.
We love Julia Roberts.
Right, but she's not a rom-com.
Right.
leading lady.
She's done all types of roles.
Right.
And then she said something recently that people are like, "Oh, it's your white privilege," saying that, you know, she's an actress and as an actor, she should be able to play anything that she wants.
A role,
any role.
essentially, right.
And everybody came after her. What I have a little bit of a problem with that. I think that maybe she could have worded.
It's usually in phrasing, and from what I understand, that quote was taken from the context of a bigger
Right.
article. You know what I mean? And so that's
So
what
we could say that maybe she could have said it differently.
Right.
I agree with her that she's an actor and that she should be able to take any role she wants. Obviously, the argument is like, well, you're not giving a lot of trans people
the opportunity
to act. Because, you know, Laverne Cox can't be the only representative of an entire
the cast of Pose can't be in everything.
right community of people
right.
that should have the same opportunity. But it's what we've talked about. Actually, we talked about this way
back.
before.
Yeah.
But in terms of black actors, right?
Right.
I don't think it's the actor's fault. I think it's Hollywood's fault.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you need to either have an open mind to cast people that are not going, you know, your Julia Roberts, your Jennifer,
your marquee names,
but these safe, you know, kind of white actors or actresses.
The safe choice. I think that's
safe
a
choices.
great way to put it.
You need to take a little bit of risk and have a little bit of faith in these people's talent and create roles because you know what? I think that if you're a trans woman, why wouldn't you be able to play
a woman
who's not trans?
Period.
A cis woman. Let's
use the terminology.
Correctly.
Yes.
A cis woman in a romantic comedy. I think that if
you
you try out for the part and
you're good and you what the hell?
You do what you're supposed to do in that part. Why shouldn't you have that opportunity role? But I have a little bit of a problem when they turn it on the actor who's getting these roles. Because I think that as an actor, I would want to challenge myself, and you know, taking a role of a trans person would be a challenge in terms of, you know, your art. Right. You know, I'm taking this on. Right. And it's also a learning because a lot of times, you know, actors, they go and they learn from different people.
Right. They pull from that experience.
Right. So I have a little bit of a problem of everybody attacking her when I think they should be attacking casting directors and directors and producers. That is the real problem. You know, and the same goes with, you know, minorities or African Americans or even, you know, Hispanics and Latin people, right? If you don't build it, they're not going to come.
Right.
So I don't know. That kind of ticked me off for a while. And I know, again, we had talked about that earlier here. Like, I think last year we talked about it. But I don't know. She's been getting like a lot of hate recently, and it's like, well,
I think it's not ultimately. And again, in this case, she might have been the executive producer on the project, so maybe that is fueling the fire a little bit. You know what I mean? But you're right. I don't think it's generally speaking, it's the actor's fault. The actor goes in for the role that their agent is saying, "Hey, this opportunity's arisen." Now, as an actor, yes, as Darren Criss has recently said, that he's not going to go out for any more gay roles because, you know, he feels like those should go to, you know, to gay actors and whatever. And I can respect that, but by the same token,
Darren Criss is really good. I mean,
but the thing is that I don't think that Darren Criss is saying to himself, "Oh, there's a gay role, I'll go for that one."
Right.
He's looking at the role. I mean, Andrew Cunanan's a weird one too because it was a gay role, but I don't think anybody looks at that as a gay role.
That's not a gay role.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean,
That's a, you're
playing a
fucked in
serial
the head
killer,
role.
right? That's a I want to play a crazy psychotic person role.
Right.
That's not I want to play a gay person role.
Right.
But unfortunately, because he was gay, it kind of converges the two together.
Right.
So it's there's a lot of just caca.
I mean, I think Darren Criss has had a lot of gay roles because he's absolutely great in those gay roles. Because when he was on Glee, that he played Blaine,
Yeah.
he was on there because he could sing and he could perform.
Right, because they were looking for that talent.
They were looking for that talent, so they, gave
Make
him
the character.
Yeah.
Right.
Darren and I go way back.
You do. You
that-
and Darren go way back to Marie's Crisis in New York.
Yeah.
When you turned to me and you said, that guy looks like the guy from Glee. To which my response was, that is the guy from Glee, Darren Criss. You were like, oh.
Igualito.
They're like, igualito, coño, ¿cómo se parece? I'm like,
Igualito.
Menos mal, because it's him.
What was the name of the club? Mary Calendars?
No, you're just really hungry. It's Marie's Crisis.
Well, that was a fun night.
That was a fun night.
was a fun
That
night,
was
so-
my last night in New York.
You spent your last night of New York with me.
Yes, I did.
Oh, poopsie. Anyway, with that said, we hope everybody listened, laughed, and learned. There was a lot of listening and learning in this episode.
There was. Hell of a lot of both.
I can't get names right, but man, I could talk about.
But you can talk about the things all around the name. You can talk all around the name. It works better.
But what is Bob Fosse?
Bob Fosse?
Bob Fosse.
Yeah, Chico Fosse.
Bob Fosse.
You know
So-
what? We're gonna go have dinner, and I'm gonna school you on Bob Fosse.
Bob Fosse. Oh, I already know his videos.
Well, there you go. You're halfway there.
So we hope, everybody listened, laughed, and learned. Remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your jupiña. And thank you for jojoining us.
Enjoy
Have
the
a great
weekend. And if you're in South Florida, stay dry, guys. I know it's gonna be shitty.
And to our Puerto Rican, people, our Puerto
Yes,
Rican, Latin,
our
and Hispanic brothers and sisters,
Stay safe.
Stay safe and dry.
Yes, stay safe and dry, guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Maybe